Um, were you on drugs or doing drugs?
No.
You don't do drugs.
No.
Have you had any type of other problems?
No.
All right. I read where it took two people to pull it. You must have been very angry. Two people to pull you off of her.
And when you think you've seen it all, and you probably won't recognize this man, I know I didn't, but it's what he's locked up for that might be even scarier than his bad hair day, and that is stabbing his parents. It was only 2018 when he stabbed his parents, and now paroled and quickly facing revocation. Now, let's watch this bizarre revocation hearing, and I'll unpack it with all the details of his crime, of his sentence, and how much time he's backing at the end.
Jefferson Parish deputies say a man confessed to stabbing both of his parents this morning in Metairie.
Tiffany Wong has more on what led up to it and why the whole thing surprised some neighbors.
A glove and blood-stained towel left behind from the gruesome attack.
We didn't hear anything. We didn't see any, police activity or anything this morning. And we were up at about 5:30 or 6, and it was already gone, I guess.
Deputies say it happened just after 3:30 this morning on the 4600 block of Wilson Drive. They found 23-year-old Travis Tyler's parents with multiple cuts, telling police their son did it.
It's scary. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
I'm shocked and surprised that it happened in this area.
A surveillance video from a neighbor shows who they believe to be Tyler getting into his father's car and driving off. Shortly after, dozens of cop cars showed up.
I saw a few cops drive by that way when we were leaving for school this morning.
They found Tyler 30 minutes later driving in the area and arrested him. Investigators say Tyler confessed to attacking his mother after she told him to be quiet. His father woke up from the disturbance, which is when deputies say Tyler attacked him. One neighbor says his father ran to her door asking for help with a deep cut to his stomach, while his mother had a visible slash to her knee as well. Several neighbors described Tyler as quiet.
He would drive around on a bike, maybe on the levee or on the bridge, but I saw him a couple times going down the road. I think he's usually to himself. I never see him talk to anybody. I just see him ride his bikes down the street.
Many neighbors didn't even hear or know what happened on their usually quiet street.
It's frightening to think that it could overflow into another family.
He faces 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder and numerous charges for aggravated flight from an officer, resisting an officer, and battery. Deputies say his parents are recovering at a hospital. Kim?
All right.
Hey, the power went out on the parole board side. It's going to be in a few minutes. All right?
The power?
On their side, it went out. It's going to be a few minutes.
Oh, all right. Somebody just hit the room, though. Someone just hit the room, though. You want to get the slide screen or something? Someone's already here.
What happened?
Oh, someone entered the room. I think they're already here. You gotta make it seem like they can see me on the side screen instead of just myself.
Let me go get her and see, because I don't know how to connect.
Okay.
Is he looking at me? I think he's looking at me. I can't. This is scary. This is really scary. Whew. Well, we just sit here in real time and wait for him to have his parole revocation hearing. Now, normally I fast forward through this stuff, but there is just something so terrifying about this guy that I don't know. I don't want to do it alone. I have to have you here with me. But in a nutshell, and thank you, Holly, for pulling up this information. Sir Richard is out this week. For the doctor said he's got to stay in the dark because of his eyes. Now, Sir Richard had prepared for this research, but Holly has pulled some extra. In a nutshell, he got a 7-year sentence for attempted murder of both his parents, right? And that was in 2018. So maybe he served 50% of it got out on good time, because you know, it was no parole hearing or we'd be covering it, right? And so he's backing maybe 3.5 years, 4 years. But how a judge only gave him 7 years is beyond me, because this was not his first trip in the rodeo. It's not like he snapped and attacked. He actually stabbed someone just 2 years prior. Yes, he was about to beat up on his sister when a man came to save his sister, right? His own sister he was about to beat up. And when that man came to protect him from beating up the sister, he pulled a knife and stabbed him. So this was the second stabbing, and a judge still only gave 7 years. And now we're Miss Renata is going to jump in here. We're going to listen to this crazy revocation hearing, and then I'll unpack it with all the details at the end. And this isn't the only hearing that we're going to watch that's wild today. I don't know. Sometimes they come in waves, and this is one of those times. So there's quite a lot of information that I'm going to be able to share with you, and just be thankful you're not sleeping in the same jail cell with this man tonight. Let's go.
All right, good morning. Apologize, some technical issues on our end. So the Committee on Parole, we are reconvening on Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. We're now at Terrebonne Parish Jail. And you are Mr. Tyler?
Yes.
Morning. Do you have any staff there in the room, or are you here by yourself?
I'm by myself.
Okay. Well, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number, please.
My name's Travis Tyler. My DOC number is 744874.
All right. Let me introduce the panel to you, Mr. Tyler. My name is Cheryl Renatza. My colleagues this morning, seated to my left is Mr. Chuck Tillis, and to my right is Mrs. Jerry Ledoux. We're here for a revocation decision this morning. Do you have some paperwork there with you? A parole revocation questionnaire?
Oh, yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, is that your signature down at the bottom of that page?
Yes.
All right, so based on the information in that document, Mr. Tyler, you're not eligible for appointed counsel, nor did you request appointed counsel for this revocation proceeding. You ready to move forward?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So I'm going to read the allegation against you, after which you'll enter a plea of not guilty, and then we'll talk about what happened. So, Mr. Tyler, you're accused of violating the conditions of your parole, specifically condition number 4. And that allegation is that you committed the offense of simple battery of the infirm, which resulted in your arrest by the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office on November 24, 2024. Agent Collins confirmed that the charge of simple battery of the infirm is a misdemeanor, not a felony charge. But how do you plead to violating condition number 4?
Oh, guilty.
Okay. Well, your case this morning, Mr. Tyler, has been assigned to Mr. Tillis. Would you answer his questions, please?
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm fine.
What happened, Mr. Tyler? I mean, what's causing these violent acts?
Oh, the reason I did that is because the lady cursed me out, and I got really angry, and I couldn't help it. I flashed out, and I didn't mean it. I'm gonna have to work on my anger issues about that, and for the future, I'm not gonna flash out like that anymore.
Were you on drugs or doing drugs?
No,
You don't do drugs.
no,
Have you had any type of other problems?
no.
All right. I read where it took 2 people to pull it. You must have been very angry. 2 people to pull you off of her.
Oh, my brother was there, and he had a baseball bat, but I assume that he struck her with the baseball bat too. No one really got that when they arrested me.
Okay. Your brother hit her?
No.
Who did your brother strike with a baseball bat? You say your brother was there.
My brother had a baseball bat. I think he struck her with the baseball bat. That's why she had a lump on her head.
Okay. All right, I have no more questions.
Mr. Tyler, you do have anger issues. Your original charge was aggravated battery. So you say you never had a substance abuse problem?
No,
You've never done drugs?
no.
The record doesn't agree with your statement. The record I have before me.
What record?
The record I have, the information that's been made available to me indicates that you may have a substance abuse problem.
No, I just got out of Cottonport.
Yeah, I know you got out you were detained rather in November. You were released in October of last year.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. I don't have any other questions, Mrs. Ledoux.
Mr. Tyler, when you were incarcerated, did you have any classes? Where were you incarcerated?
Raymond Laborde.
They have a lot of classes. Did you take any kind of classes when you were incarcerated previously?
I took 3 good time classes.
What were they?
Living in balance, anger management, and the pre-release.
So the anger management didn't really stick, huh? Didn't learn anything from that?
Oh, not really.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Tyler, I think we've concluded our interview. I think we're ready to vote. Mr. Tillis will be voting first.
Mr. Tyler, I think you need some more classes to take, and especially anger management. And my vote today is going to be to revoke.
Mrs. Ledoux.
My vote is to revoke based on violence against victims.
And Mr. Tyler, I do agree. You pled guilty to violating condition number 4. I agree that you need some additional classes to help you with your anger issues. So my vote today is to revoke your parole. So today, sir, your parole's been revoked. Good luck to you.
I don't need my parole revoked. I wasn't really looking for that.
Well, that's just what happened for you today, sir.
Can I please have my parole not revoked?
No parole for tape.
Okay.
No parole for tape.
So,
No parole for tape. None. Mr. Tate is not getting parole
because of anger issues. How many of you just finished Mr. Parole's statement? And I don't think that we could have a better one than that. Sir, you are not getting paroled because of anger issues. When you think you've seen it all, really, I mean, what the thing that he said at the end, he's like, what? My parole revoked? No. Look at, I mean, this is like a comedy skit. What world is he living in? Why would he think it's not getting revoked? And I don't know. The only thing funnier maybe is the parole board talking about his programs. Like a program is going to help. This guy clearly needs. I'm not diagnosing anyone. I'm just speculating on a situation like this. But there are some people that just need to be in asylums, and we see this time and time again, where certain people shouldn't be in the parole system. Certain people shouldn't be getting out. He is going to kill someone someday, and in my opinion. And when it happens, everyone's going to be like, the news is going to be like, oh, how is it possible? Look at his violent record. Why is it that he's not locked up? And it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe because there are judges and DAs that are too lazy to prosecute cases to the fullest. Like, whoa. It doesn't take a rocket science, but we're just sheeple, right? We don't know any better. Let me go over the facts of this case. And he'll be getting out, I'm sure, in just a few years. But 23-year-old man stabbed both his parents at this home after his mother told him to quiet down early Friday. Deputies arrested Travis after a short car chase, and his parents were taken to the hospital. The agency learned the situation at 3:40 in the morning when someone called 911 to report that their neighbors had been stabbed. Deputies found the 62-year-old woman and 59-year-old man at the home who had been cut multiple times. They said their son Tyler had attacked them and taken their car. Ravati and deputies spotted Tyler driving the car in the area within about a half hour. He took off when deputies tried to stop him, but was captured after a brief pursuit. He said that Taylor confessed to attacking his mother during an argument that erupted after she told him she wanted him to be quiet. The son said his mother ran into her bedroom and woke up her husband, who was then attacked as well. Sheriff office didn't identify the victims, but William, who described himself as a relative, confirmed when asked what the victims were, blah, blah, blah. He said he understood both were in stable condition. He declined to comment further. Travis is facing counts that include attempted murder, aggravated flight from officer, resisting arrest, battery on an officer, and said that his bail has not been set. He was wanted on an arrest warrant issued by the First Parish Court of Jefferson after he missed a hearing there in February. In that case, which is unresolved, Tyler is charged with disturbing the peace, public intoxication. Do you have a drinking problem? No. Battery on a deputy, resisting another deputy during an incident September 9th at a bar and grill, blah, blah, blah. And of course, we have the violent incident now where he's like, oh no, that person had the welt on her head because my brother hit her with a bat. It's like he's a lizard, humanoid. How can it be that he will be getting out soon? How terrifying is that? And now we are about to watch the parole revocation hearing of this man who was also charged for second-degree murder. But after a 6-person jury said, no, we find you guilty, but we are going to drop the charges to aggravated battery. And this happened in 2018. So I don't know, the stars must have aligned to give us 2 attempted homicide hearings at the same day. Now let's go watch this revocation hearing, and I'll unpack it with the details at the end.
Okay, we got a lot going on in the background. My name is Aaron Serigny, DOC number 627602.
Pronounce your last name again?
Serigny.
Serigny, okay. You heard the introductions. You're here for a revocation decision this morning. Do you have any paperwork there with you?
No, ma'am.
Okay, there's a parole revocation questionnaire that you were presented at your preliminary hearing. We're going to put it up on the screen. I'd like you to verify if that's your signature at the bottom of that page.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
So according to the information contained in that questionnaire, Mr. Serigny, you were not eligible for appointed counsel, nor did you request one. So are you prepared to proceed this morning?
Absolutely, ma'am.
So I'm going to read the violations against you, after which you should enter a plea of guilty or not guilty, and then we'll have a conversation about it, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You're accused of violating the conditions of your parole, and first of all is condition number 3. And it states, the condition states that I will live at the address on this certificate, referring to your parole certificate, good time certificate. If I must move from the address, I will get permission from my parole officer before doing so. In addition, I will not leave the state of Louisiana without written permission from my parole officer. The allegation is that you absconded from supervision in April 2024 and your whereabouts were unknown until you were arrested November 29, 2024. So how do you plead to violating condition number 3? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Guilty. Then we have condition number 9, and that condition states that I agree to visit at my residence or place of employment by my parole officer at any time. I also agree to searches of my person, property, residence, and or vehicle when reasonable suspicion exists that I am or have been engaged in criminal activity. The allegation again is that you absconded from supervision in April 24 and your whereabouts were unknown until you were arrested November 29, 2024. So how do you plead to violating condition number 9?
Okay, so that coincides with violation number 3?
Yeah, because the allegation is that you were not available for visits at your residence or place of employment.
Now, my plea guilty.
And last has to do with your fees. You've not made any supervision fee payments. And as of December 9th, 2024, your arrearage is $1,073. So how do you plead to violating condition number 10?
I plead guilty.
All right, so Aaron, you also pled guilty at your preliminary hearing to all 3 violations. Tell us what was going on with you.
Well, when I paroled out to Algiers, and that's in the West Bank of New Orleans, and everything had been going good. Everything was going pretty good, but I was having a little trouble getting to work, and I made a mistake. When I left from my prison sentence, I was on fire for God. You know, I was on fire in my faith. I was deep in my faith, but I made a mistake, and I put something before God, and that was my wife. And so I didn't know what I was coming home to. I thought I had an understanding of what I was coming home to, but what I should have done is I should have came home and used the resources that were available to me, and I should have established something for myself and for my family, which I didn't. And I came home to a kind of tricky, kind of dense situation, and you know, things wasn't really in control. Things was kind of out of hand, and financially we weren't stable. And I you know, trying to take care of things at the house. My stepson was into some stuff in the streets and stuff, and I was trying to get him out of it and mentor him out of it. We eventually lost our home, and we had to relocate. So when we did so, we went to South Louisiana, to where I'm from. That's where you may see in the records where I had changed addresses to South Louisiana. Okay. And once again, the situation wasn't what I thought it was. My father has land there, and he has a camper that was on the land. So when we moved there, I was under the impression that I could just pay a couple $100 and get the lights turned on. But the storm previously had tore away all of the property. So the camper that was placed on the property needed an elevation permit to be able to get electricity put there. And so it was over like $2,000-3,000. It was $2,600 from what I can recall. And it was just my wife, she catches a social security check, and being in the rural part of Louisiana like that, it's really hard to work if you don't have a vehicle. We didn't have a vehicle, so we were living off of a generator, and we did that as long as we could. Her son was murdered, and so we were raising her granddaughter. And so, like, at a certain point when that became kind of harsh living conditions, where Mr. Becknell was checking up on me, I had sent them back to New Orleans. So I sent them back out here, and I stayed down there for about a month, still trying to get it together, and I couldn't. And I had started to, I believe in honesty being the best policy. I just want to be honest with you guys, because I feel like we can have a better understanding then.
Yeah, well, so let me interrupt you, please. When did you move to Cutoff?
I moved to Cutoff probably early November of 2023.
23.
Yes.
Okay, and so you were being supervised then, and this says that from April of 24 is when your officer had no knowledge of your whereabouts. So where were you in April of 2024?
Well, because of the situation with not being able to get electricity and living in like a privatized state like that, I came back out with the help of the Muslim Reentry Initiative. It's a nonprofit called MRI. I had moved back out here to New Orleans, and I called Mr. Becknell, and I let him know, like, hey, I'm sorry that I didn't ask permission. I'm sorry, that I didn't previously, let you know. But I moved back out to New Orleans, and it was bleak. The situation was bleak, and I needed to move. But I'm
So
here.
why did you not make contact with the parole officer?
And that was what he said. He said, hey, man, you're doing better than most people. You contacted me, but you need to go and sign up. And so I didn't sign up. And with all of that said, it was no one else's responsibility but my own. I don't have anyone to blame before you guys. I don't have any excuse. It was as simple as just go and give an address and we wouldn't be talking today. And that's the most foolish mistake.
But Aaron, you're a fourth offender. You've been on supervision before.
I've never been on parole before, no ma'am.
So you've never had a parole or probation officer.
I had a probation officer probably about 10 years ago.
So you had a probation officer at least 3 times?
No, only once.
So you're a fourth offender though, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So how much time have you done in jail ever at once?
5 years.
Was that for this particular time?
From the incarceration that I'm on parole for, yes, ma'am.
So you mentioned your wife several times. Where is she today?
I was hoping she would be here. Kind of a little disappointed that she's not.
You are trash, Lindsay. You are trash.
All's well.
You still in New Orleans? Where is she?
She stays in New Orleans East. My wife is a CNA of 30 years. She's a 45-year-old lady. She's never been in trouble before. I was hoping she'd be here to speak on my behalf, but all is well.
All right. So you pled guilty. What were you hoping was going to happen today? You pled guilty to violating your conditions of parole.
I understand that I'm not eligible for a technical revocation. And I understand that today it's very likely that I'm going to be revoked. I'm just praying for favor in the sight of God, and I'm praying for leniency. But in life, we have to learn how to take accountability for our actions. So as I said, I don't have anyone to blame for not signing up when I came back to New Orleans. So I'm praying for leniency, but I understand that the situation may leave me with.
So you mentioned you couldn't get to and from work. What was your last job that you held?
I worked with police for 3 days, and the manager she had a lot of corrupt stuff going on. And
Where was that at? Say that again.
Wendy's. And
Wendy's.
That's when I moved back out here from Cutoff. I worked at Wendy's for 3 days, and there was a lot of stuff going on there was a lot of drugs and stuff at the restaurant. I worked there for 3 days, and I was like, I don't want to be around this.
So you got a lot of excuses there, and you got to grow up a little bit, I believe.
I have no excuses, ma'am. I should have done differently.
You do have excuses. That's all you've been telling me today is excuses after excuses. I'm concerned about you. I understand your situation where you had to move from the West Bank to Cutoff and all that, and having difficulty with transportation and what have you. I don't have any other questions. Any questions?
No. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Tillis has some
What
questions.
do you plan to do if you're released again?
I developed a little bit of a drug problem towards the end. And if I'm released again, I don't want to go home just yet. And I had to help my wife understand this. I don't, right now, I can't walk out of these doors and go and get high. But if I'm in a rehabilitation center, then that's a step forward for me, because then I can walk out at any time, but it's a choice of mine. But if I just go straight home, I don't want to I don't want to live this life anymore. Like regardless if it's right now that I get released or if I get released in 2029, I don't want to live this life anymore. I've lost everything. I've lost everything being in prison. My last incarceration, my sister died 12 days before I got before I was released. I just don't want to leave this anymore. Like I have a little girl whose dad's been murdered, and so she tells me one day she doesn't have a dad. That broke my heart. Like I showed her that responsibility. Like I don't want to be a disappointment to my family anymore. Like I don't want to be a disappointment to myself, and I don't want to be a disappointment to God anymore. I don't want drugs as part of my life anymore, but I'm worried about my struggle with it. And so if I'm released today, I don't want to go home. I want to go to a rehab.
All right. What about work release?
This would be fun. I think that would be similar to it because at least I would be exposed to the world. I just don't want to go home just yet.
I'm not ready to go home either. I think that you need to have something lined up for a job and a way to support yourself, a way to support your family. I do believe there may be some availability of a work release program where you might be afforded a substance abuse education at least. Would you be willing to do that?
Yes, ma'am.
For a long term?
If I knew exactly what to do with my life, I didn't have a greatest upbringing. If I knew exactly what to do with my life and I had guidance, then I wouldn't be here before you guys. And so whatever suggestion you have.
You're trying to give you some help. I'm going to vote. My vote today is in lieu of revocation that we send you to participate in a transitional work program, work release for 9 months. After your release and hopefully it'll be one that has some substance abuse education so you can address that issue. After release, you're to have a substance abuse evaluation and comply with any treatment plan that is recommended for you. Now, I'm just one vote, but that's what I want to do. Mr. Tillis?
I concur.
Mrs. Ledoux?
You know, Aaron, I think we're giving you the best shot to get straight that you can get at this point. My vote is also to send you to a transitional work program. Requesting that if they can find one with substance abuse education to do that. You do need to do some follow-up. I really hope that you have the opportunity to make some better reentry plans, look for a place that you can settle down and get your life together, okay?
Good luck to you, Aaron. That concludes our business. We're going to sign off. It's 9:09.
Thank y'all.
Wow. And you know what? I wasn't sure. I'm watching this and I'm going side by side. I'm wondering, is he just manipulating them? Is he doing reverse psychology? Miss Renata is not an easy person to manipulate. She has seen it all. She has been around in the DOC. You know, she was a deputy warden in Angola since like the late 80s or something. But this was genuine. I think what we just saw was someone who was at rock bottom, who is at rock bottom and really, really, really does want to change. And I am actually rooting for him. I really am. And when we had that hot mic at the end that I think gave the affirmation, and look, I am jaded with the system, and 2 years ago, I would have just said without a doubt, I believe him. But you see just so many parole hearings and you start to lose a little bit of faith in humanity. But I am going to allow myself to believe that was 100% authentic, that he is his rock bottom. And sometimes you just got to get there before you can start climbing back up. And I hope that he does well. And I don't know if you've noticed, they don't recommend Steve Hoyle anymore. I don't know what changed with the new governor or whatnot, but they don't recommend Steve Hoyle. They won't use those words. They just recommend programs, and we might see him again sometime soon. We have seen people get recommended to Steve Hoyle or to work release, and then we see them before they get us. So I don't know if we do, it will be in the return of playlist. But let me go over the crimes Sir Richard and Holly provided here. Man convicted in stabbing loses appeal. This is dated 2020, so I think it was 2018 that he was convicted. But let me go over it with you. And an appeals court has upheld the conviction of a sentence for a man convicted of stabbing someone during an argument in 2018. Look at him there, huh? And so 26 at the time of cutoff was originally charged with attempted second-degree murder in the incident, but charge was later amended to aggravated second-degree battery. It's so similar to the last case we saw, right? Following 2 days of testimony, the 6-member jury handed down the guilty verdict, aggravated battery 21. Okay, district judge, blah, 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 sentenced to 7 years behind bars. It's almost like the same case. Specifically, he contends that the trial court failed to tell a jury who carried out the burden of proof a self-defense claim, non-homicide crime. Witness testified that the victim was unarmed, but the defense attorney contends that he'd acted in self-defense. Cited testimony says supports his claim that the victim was the aggressor. In the ruling of January 9th, the appellate court sided with the prosecution. The jury's responsive guilty verdict indicated the jury believed the victim's testimony and rejected the testimony, the defendant's theory that he had acted in self-defense. The court said if the jury thought the defendant had the burden of proof, the prevailing view of the state jurisprudence, then it clearly found that the defendant did not meet his burden of proof. I mean, basically, it could have been worse for him. It could have been better. Let's see where it says it here. Serigny had been staying at the victim's home for a few days, then started arguing after the victim asked him to leave. He said as the argument escalated, he pulled out a knife and stabbed the victim in the torso. The victim, who suffered a punctured lung, was transported to the Lady of the Sea General Hospital to undergo surgery. Oh my gosh, yeah, he's lucky he's not serving a longer sentence for killing someone. But he wasn't his first trip with the rodeo, of course, and wow. I think I don't know. I think he's at rock bottom, and hopefully he does find a way to climb himself out. He talks about his his wife, who's like that many years older than him, who also just didn't show up. Good for her for just putting a stop to it. You got to do that, and no, I think it was authentic. I think if he played his cards any other way, they revoke him. I think that they appreciated. It was a lot of excuses, but there was also, I think, a sense of authenticity to it. And he was pleading for help. He was asking for help. And I don't think it was just him knowing that this is the only way he wasn't going to get revoked. I think he accepted his fate, and they sensed it and gave him another chance. And I hope that they don't regret it. And we'll jump into one more hearing now. It's not often we have female revocation hearings, so I'll unpack with the details that we have at the end.
Good morning. Ma'am, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number. Your microphone's on mute. Can you unmute it?
My name is, hi, good morning. My name is Sylvester, and I don't know my DOC number. I left my paper just now in the back because y'all screen had cut down, and I had they brought me back to the back, and I had left my paper.
Hey, well, hold on. I'm gonna help you out. Now? How do you pronounce your first name?
Anissa Sylvester.
Okay, pretty name. I couldn't figure out how to pronounce it. Let me let's see. It's like your master prison record. What's the last 4 digits of your social security number?
Okay.
All right, your DOC number is 770002.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound familiar to you?
Yes, ma'am, I do. Thank you.
Let me, Ms. Sylvester, let me introduce the panel to you. I'm Cheryl Renatza. This is Mr. Tillis to my left, Mrs. Ledoux to my right. You have some paperwork there with you?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the parole revocation questionnaire there with you?
Yes, ma'am, but I left it in the bag.
Okay, well, look on the screen. Look on the screen. Is that your signature at the bottom of that page?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Based on the information in that document, you're not eligible for appointed counsel, and it's my understanding you have not requested appointed counsel. Are you ready to proceed today?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I'm going to read the allegation against you, and you'll need to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty, and then we'll talk about it.
Yes, ma'am.
Before we vote. So you're accused of violating the conditions of your parole, and specifically condition number 4 in that states you engaged in criminal activity, which is evident with your arrest by Houma Police Department for domestic abuse battery. On October 17, 2024, you pled guilty to the amended charge of simple battery, which is a misdemeanor. So how do you plead to violating condition number 4?
That's guilty, I guess.
Okay. So your case this morning, Ms. Sylvester, has been assigned to Mr. Tillis. Would you answer his questions?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, sir.
Your plea was guilty?
No, well, I thought I had to plead guilty because they took me to jail and I was doing time, so I pleaded guilty. But I'm really not guilty on the case of my charges. But I thought I had to plead guilty. I didn't know. That's why I pleaded guilty in court.
You are trash, Lindsay. You are trash.
Hey, tell me what happened.
I had just came home and I was going to rehab the next day. And my dad had some drugs out or whatever. He had a drug problem. I have a drug problem. And I was staying with my dad. And the lady downstairs, if she hear us fussing or anything going on, she don't like me. And she always calls the police. It's not her first time. Because me or my dad don't have a phone. So I kept telling my dad, put the dope up. You know, I'm trying to, you know, get myself together and pack my clothes to go to rehab. I was going to Avenues the next day. They arrested me. And he just kept ignoring me and stuff like that. So I blew his dope off the table, and he tried to get up with his cane and hit me, but I ran and went to the bathroom. And by the time I went to the bathroom, the police was there. So it's like she called the police soon as I came. We stayed around the street from the police station. So it was quick. It's like she just called the police on me. And she always calls the police on me. It's not the first time. I never hit my dad, though. I never hit my dad.
You didn't hit him?
No, I did not.
Okay. While you were incarcerated, have you ever taken some classes on anger management or anything?
No, I've been since I've been out of jail, since I got out in 22 from these charges I'm in on probation. I've been in and out of rehabs and sober livings trying to help myself with my addiction.
Wait, but I'm saying prior to your release, were you taking any classes or abuse treatment?
No, sir.
Haven't? Okay. Have you been in some other brawls with anybody? Fights?
No. Yeah, like when I was young, that's when I first started coming to jail. I was fighting. I used to fight a lot, but with people my age. No, I never fought my dad. I don't fight old people. I don't disrespect my elders.
I see. So why do you think we shouldn't revoke your request today?
Because once I leave here, if y'all do let me go, I have plans to go back to Lake Charles, and I have a job lined up for me, and I have my manager. She was my manager, but she's my friend now since I've been knowing her, and she's been helping me when I'm down there. She helped me get jobs and helped me get on my feet and stuff like that. So that's what I was going to do once if y'all could let me go. I'm gonna be moving back to Lake Charles, and I can get on my probation down there, work my probation and stuff down there.
I see. I have no more questions.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Ms. Sylvester, while you were incarcerated there at Terrebonne, have you had any write-ups?
Yeah, just one.
And when was that, and what was it for?
For disturbance with a girl.
They didn't write you up for a disturbance. They wrote you up for rule number 10. Do you know what that is?
No, ma'am.
That's fighting. And did you go to lockdown?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay.
But I did not hit the girl. She just went told them that I hit her, but I did not hit her.
Yeah. They found you guilty in DB court.
I did.
It says that they reviewed the camera footage and saw you. So I'm
And
not going to argue that point. I just about that. Thank you.
So, let me ask you, Anisha, why were you at your dad's?
Excuse me?
Why were you at your dad's house?
I was staying with my dad.
What was the address?
Magnolia Street, but I don't know the address.
Because who lives on Prince Collins Street?
Yeah, we was staying there, but they moved, he was in a camper. So they moved him to Magnolia Street after that.
Yeah. To an apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
And so the police report, the story that your father said to the police when they got there that day is quite different than what you said. That he let you in to take a shower.
Yeah.
Got some groceries in the refrigerator and
I don't know about it. I don't know what he told them because I wasn't there. I was in the police car.
Well, the point is that his story is very different than yours. That's my point.
I'm sure it is.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions. I think we are prepared to vote. Mr. Tice.
At this time, my vote is to revoke.
Is this legit?
My vote is to revoke based on rule number 10 while incarcerated waiting on revocation hearing.
And my vote also, Ms. Sylvester, is to revoke. You pled guilty to violating the conditions of your supervision. So today, ma'am, your parole is being revoked. We wish you well. I hope you get to take advantage of some classes that are available to you. Good luck. That concludes our business today. We're going to adjourn. It's 9:47.
No parole for tape.
Okay.
No parole for tape.
So,
No parole for tape. None. Mr. Tate is not getting parole because
of anger issues. Let me know in the comment section if you finished that sentence. And if you haven't seen the Mr. Tate parole hearing, I'll put a link to that in the description. It's a must see. Now it's interesting, right? We saw 3 parole revocation hearings today. 2, 1, I don't know, like one where there's just you can maybe he had some of the Connecticut water, the first guy where he's like, what? No, revoke me. And then we have the middle one where I think you really did hit rock bottom. And then we have here where it's just the excuses and they don't like that. Now I don't know how much time she is backing. I see here that we have a DV. That's the what she was just caught up for, 9/2/2024. The probation violation in 10/13/2023. So she was on probation when she violated to then get locked up. And her initial charge, 12/2/2020, she has simple battery, illegal carrying of a weapon. It doesn't say what kind of weapon. Possession possession or distribution of paraphernalia, failure to appear, shoplifting, entering a place after being forbidden. I mean, it's quite a long list. Nothing, huge, but nothing great either. And I don't know how much time she's back in. And it's, it is interesting. We don't see a lot of women revocation hearings, but that's also because there's a much smaller percentage of women locked up in general. But anyways, this was a wild ride. I want to give a special thank you to Sir Richard, who right now is MIA because the doctor said you have to be in the dark. You can't be using her eyes. You know, his eyes are failing him. He's legally blind, but they're getting worse. And Holly, who's jumped in to do the research, and here's the Holly emoji. It's, if you're a member, you can drop it and things, jumped in to help bring up additional last second information on these cases. And if they ever do show up, any of them, they will be in the return of playlist. That's where we play hearings for when someone comes up for a second or third time. But for now, and with that, I'll let you go.
Are you on drugs or doing drugs?
No,
You don't do drugs.
no,
Have you had any type of other problems?
no.
So today, sir, your parole's been revoked. Good luck to you.
I don't need my parole revoked. I wasn't really looking for that.
Well, that's just what happened for you today, sir.
Can I please have my parole not revoked?